All right, guys, it's that time again. We made a test pumpkin pie the other day when we slaughtered Big Bertha, our first big giant squash, which was probably about 60 pounds. We got some puree that we've been freezing for a few days here, and we got all of our ingredients to make hopefully 5 pumpkin pies. So I kind of made my own printed sheet from a recipe I found online, and we'll link to that recipe in our description so you can check it out. This is a easy vegan pumpkin pie recipe. The ingredients are pumpkin puree, full fat coconut milk, brown sugar, cornstarch, maple syrup, vanilla extract, pumpkin pie spice, ground cinnamon, salt, whatever pie crust you want. You know, we can get pre-made or a vegan one or whatever, and whatever whipped topping you want. So I froze these purees after making them. Basically you bake the squash, skin and all, until it's like you can put a knife or whatever through it easily. Then you skin it, you peel it or whatever. Then you put the good stuff in the middle in a food processor. And this was the first time we actually used our food processor from the Ninja that we've had for a couple years. We were using the smaller glasses to make smoothies and stuff, when we got it, but we have never used the actual big food processor, which was kind of neat. So even though we made these in 2 cups, this recipe calls for 1 3/4 cups per pie. I think a lot of them just call for 2 because that's how it comes canned, a lot of times when you buy it. But we're going to go with the recipe and not add any more because we don't want it to be too watery or anything like that. All right, so I couldn't find my 2-cup measuring cup, so we had to do it 1 cup a piece, 1 cup and 1, and then 3/4 cups. So even though I measured out 2 cups, you see it sticks a lot. So by the time we transfer 2 cups twice into and out of the bag, there's a little bit less in there. So it took up the majority of this, I would say. So now we just have to double that since we're going to make 2 pies at a time. All right, so there's the last of it. So 1 3/4 cups times 2 for 2 pies. So if you have a big giant bowl, you could probably make it all in 1, but for 2, it's 3.5 cups, obviously. For 1, it's 1 3/4. So we pulled our pie crust out. We're just using a pre-made pie crust, and we're preheating the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So 3/4 cup of full fat coconut milk per pie, and this is what full fat coconut milk looks like, especially when it's colder. When it gets like 76 degrees or something like that, it'll turn more liquidy. But you can see that if you get something that's not full fat, you'll probably know, and it's going to be watery, and it may not turn out as well. So this is what it looks like when you kind of stir it up. You see you got your regular coconut water or milk there, and then the chunks of fat. So this is a really good thing to make vegan ice cream with too. You can use like full fat coconut milk. I think you can use like avocados as well because they're like fatty. These cans are like so close to 1.5 cups. If it's not quite 1.5 cups, it's probably insignificant. It's like really close to measuring that. But we probably need to scrape it really good so we get every little bit out of there. Time for the brown sugar. 1/2 cup per pie, lightly packed. So 1 cup for 2 pies, obviously. All right, there's about 1 cup here. If we can get it all out of there. Yeah, you're going to get your hands dirty. You're going to wash your hands probably several times between. What? Yeah, these are for Christmas. So there's what it looks like so far, unmixed. And Natalie just asked if we were making these all for Christmas because she can't wait to have a taste of pie. Right, Natalie? Probably can't hear that, but she said yep.
Yes.
Luckily, I found my measuring cups here, and we're going with the cornstarch now. 1/4 cup per pie. And I kind of wonder if I have enough to do 5 pies, so we're gonna just, there's one. I don't even know if we got another 1/4 cup in this bucket, but we do have another new one, so. All right, we had to open this other guy and put it in the bigger container there. So we got a 1/2 cup there. 1/4 cup maple syrup per pie. So 1/2 cup. I realize maple syrup isn't very cheap, so you could probably just do maybe just more brown sugar. Maybe add a little bit of bourbon or something to it. Give it a little smoky flavor there. So now, vanilla extract. You can use probably imitation. It'd probably be okay. But we got the real stuff. It's 1 teaspoon per pie, so we're going to use a tablespoon here. You can use like pandan extract or whatever. Like if you go to an Asian market, it probably has a similar taste to vanilla. Pandan. All right, so 2 teaspoons per pie of pumpkin pie spice. Obviously, you can make your own pumpkin pie spice. 1. If you mix your own ingredients, maybe like ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, or whatever. Some of the pre-mixes, I think, are made a little bit differently, but okay. All right, so that's 4 teaspoons. I couldn't get the tablespoon in that little jar, so we used 4 teaspoons instead. And 1/2 teaspoon extra of cinnamon. So 1 teaspoon of cinnamon for 2 pies. The last ingredient is salt. 1/2 teaspoon per pie, so a teaspoon. Ours is starting to get a little bit crunchy, so I'm just gonna kind of work it in there a little bit. And that's what it looks like so far. It'd be better if we had a whisk, but I don't think we have a whisk. So we're gonna just see what we can do here. I actually found a whisk. It's been I guess a while since I used a whisk. So you just incorporate everything together. I mean, there's nothing to it, I guess. Last time, I think I just started with a spoon or a fork or something. Just get it mixed somewhat well, and if you get little chunks of this and that in the pie, that just gives it character, right? If you get a little piece of whatever, you know, a pumpkin puree chunk or whatever, that's fine. All right, so that's what it looks like. It's now the color of what you would consider a pumpkin pie, I guess. All right, I think we're ready to pour it, even though our poor pie shells are pretty cracked and stuff here. Probably gonna make a mess here. And you know, this filling, when you do it with this recipe, from what I can tell, takes the filling pretty much to the top of the pie. Sometimes I don't like doing that, you know, on my sweet potato pies and all. Sometimes I'll just choose to make a 3rd pie. But, you know, Natalie also likes to taste the filling and stuff, so see how it's like just about to overflow there? That's fine, just about overflow it. Don't overflow it, but go to the top. Like right there, that's like, maybe, I mean, you might even put a little bit more right there, look at there. All right, so that's it, they go to the top. If you don't like it going to the top, either make a 3rd pie, bring these down a little bit, or just take like 10% of the ingredients down a notch, you know, just cut 10% of it and it'll probably make it pretty good. Yeah, we just about overflowed it too much because we couldn't really move it easily without it kind of flowing over the edge there, but yeah, probably should have put a little less filling in them. But there we go, 60 minutes, guys. When we did our first pumpkin pie, I had no clue how it was gonna thicken up or solidify or whatever. And just setting outside, you know, like room temperature for a few hours, it was still kind of runny, but you could technically eat it without it like just being super soupy. Kind of like the outside thickened, but the inside not quite as much. So we set it in the refrigerator overnight, and it kind of turned into like a traditional pumpkin pie consistency, I guess you would say. So supposedly pumpkin doesn't need a binder, but then again, there's cornstarch in this recipe to act as a binder as well, or a thickener maybe. But then you got the full fat coconut milk, which solidifies at a certain temperature, so putting it in the refrigerator is probably a good idea, at least overnight. And then serving it from the refrigerator is going to give it that good consistency, that good texture, I guess you would say. I'm not sure how long term it would be if you let it sit overnight outside. Maybe we'll figure that out. Well, we must be crazy because we're going to try to make a pumpkin bread as well. Wish us luck here. Alright, so this is another one we got online. So, flour of some sort, all-purpose, whole wheat, 1-to-1 GF flour blend or spelt. Sugar, these people use coconut, but you can use turbinate, cane sugar, I guess maple syrup. Baking powder, baking soda, pumpkin pie spice, salt, vanilla, unsweetened almond milk, neutral flavored oil like coconut oil or applesauce, and pumpkin puree. Optional, small handful of pepitas. This guy calls for 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of baking soda per loaf. I only have baking powder, no baking soda, and I have just probably shy of 2 tablespoons. So hopefully it's going to be enough. If not, you can say that's why it messed up. Yep. So it says, like I said, you can just double up the baking powder if you don't have baking soda. 2 cups of flour per loaf. We're making 2 loaves, and I have all-purpose flour here, so. One. 2 messy to count it. All 4. Here we go. There's number 4. Now it calls for 1/2 to 3/4 cup of sugar, probably depending on how sweet you want it. I'm going to do just a little over 1/2 cup. I'm going to add sweetened soy milk in it since I don't have unsweetened almond milk, so maybe that'll account for some of the extra sugar in the soy milk. Here's the sugar. Now this calls for 1 tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice per loaf. I really don't have a whole lot for my pies, so I got a heaping teaspoon here, and I'll probably add some ginger, maybe some other spices with it, and cinnamon. Let's see what we got in the cabinet. I went through the pantry and I found pretty much a whole thing of pumpkin spice, so I guess I don't have to make it by myself now. So. Alright, that should be enough there. That's what it looks like so far. Let's give it a little whisk. Kind of whisking it in between here to try to make sure all the dry ingredients get incorporated. Of course, I'm making a mess. I'm overflowing it from the top here. So the recipe says a pinch of mineral salt. Well, I got some pink salt, so I guess 2 pinches, right? 1 pinch, 2 pinches, and that should be it. So the recipe says 1 to 2 teaspoons of vanilla per loaf. All right, there's 1 teaspoon. Let's do 2 or 1. That's about 1 3/4. I'm gonna kick it up a notch here though. I'm gonna put some moonshine in here, just to. Hopefully this will make it better. Look at there. There we go. Just a little bit. So the recipe calls for 1/3 cup unsweetened almond milk. So since we didn't put quite as much sugar in there, we're going to use sweetened. So we should get 2/3 cup of soy milk here, and it's not vanilla or anything. It's just regular. Get the just right here. And there's that, and I guess we'll give it a little turn again. Give it a little stir. Wow, when I put that soy milk in there, you could sure smell the freaking moonshine come out there. Start mixing that around. That little bit I put in there, a little bit of moonshine, a little bit of vanilla extract, you can start to smell it good. So coconut oil, which you can get in all kinds of grocery things, health food stores. A lot of times I would probably heat it up to get an accurate measurement, but right now I'm just going to use it kind of half solidified and kind of pack it down in the container here until I get 2/3 of a cup. So 1/3 of a cup per loaf of bread. All right, so we're pretty close there. As you can see, it's like came out in one solid little ball like that. And you could, if you like pan-fried seafood and stuff, especially like shrimp, try cooking it in this coconut oil. It has like the cleanest flavor you can get out of like a fried food. Lastly, we got the pumpkin puree. So it's a variable recipe. I guess the original recipe or whatever calls for 1 cup apiece. The guy or girl or whatever that made the recipe or posted it said they don't like to waste the puree from the can, so they just use a whole can, which is a little bit more. But we measured these at about 2 cups, and it might be a little bit less by the time we everything sticks to the measuring cup, and then everything sticks to the baggie. So we're going to try to push as much out. So this should be close to 2 cups though. If it's a little bit less, I'm sure it really won't matter too much. Get all of it out you can, I guess. This stuff is so pretty. It looks like mango puree. That's what it reminds me of. And after it froze, I took a little taste of it. It's kind of sweet, and it kind of has a little bit of a starchy taste to it. I didn't taste the starchy taste when we originally pureed it, but it might have been there all along. Or freezing it might have actually did something to it. I guess we see if we can whisk it. It's like a really thick biscuit mix or something. We might have to get our hands dirty or get the KitchenAid out. Hopefully not, but it looks like it's going to be too hard to work in front of the camera here. So all right, Natalie, how does this pumpkin pie smell?
Delicious.
It just come out of the oven. Look how it browned and like caramelized around the edges.
It smells so good.
Wow. So it come out just in time for the bread to go back in there. So this is what the bread looks like. We couldn't really smooth it out. Or the dough. It's kind of like, reminds me of biscuit dough. But if you get it on your fingers, it does not come off. You have to wash it off. So we're fixing to put it in the oven now. I almost forgot to put just a sprinkle of sugar on top here. And a lot of people will put like pepitas and maybe some nuts or whatever on top. Hopefully that'll make it. Oh, Natalie also wanted to put a little bit, small chunks of butter on the bottom with a coat of cinnamon and a little sprinkle of brown sugar on the bottom as well to try to sweeten it up and make it maybe a little bit more moist. We don't know what it's going to turn out like, when it's done either way, how moist or dense it's going to be.
That's how I used to do my banana bread, something glazed.
So it glazes the bottom kind of like in banana bread. Put them in the oven at 350. I'm setting it at 40 minutes. The actual paper that I printed off does not have the time on it. I'll have to look on the website and see what it says. But we're going to set it as 40 minutes and see what happens. The website says 55 to 60 minutes. It wasn't on the actual part of the recipe that I printed off. So we'll see what it looks like in about 50 minutes. All right. So it's almost done, if not done. We might just have to do a fork test on it and see if it's done. Looks good and crunchy, crispy on the top maybe. And perfect timing. All right, we're gonna give it a little fork test here. Nothing come out. Super dense, hard. It's done. All right, the other one is out. Let's give it a fork test. Look at there, it's done. My gosh, the smell is good. Time to put the other two pumpkin pies in the oven. Another hour and we'll be done, and then we'll have one more pie to make, which we probably may not even do on the video. Here are the next 2 pies. I guess we got one more to make. It's a very odd looking piece of bread, I guess, or a loaf of bread, Natalie said. I'm not sure what to think about it. I guess we gotta try to take a piece out and see what it tastes like. We cut it in half there, and we got a little piece, whoop, and it fell apart. So that's what it looks like. Okay, Natalie's gonna be the first to try it. That is not sweet at all, is it? Even with the extra sugar. What do you think?
Weird.
Well, of course we didn't put the chocolate chips in it, and we didn't put the maximum amount of sugar in it. But it is not very sweet. And Natalie said that does not taste like... She said that does not taste like pumpkin loaf. What I'm thinking is it needs some frosting over top of it, drizzled on it, and then it'd probably be pretty good. Right, I'm making a little sweetener, a little drizzles with, since I don't have any powdered sugar to make frosting, we're just gonna put a little drizzle of this on it. This is brown sugar, a little maple syrup, a little bit of vanilla, and a little bit of cinnamon. See if that makes it better. All right, we did it on both sides, and I'm gonna take a taste and see if it tastes like a cinnamon bun, or what does it taste like? All right, guys, I think that's it for this video. Pumpkin pie, obviously we made with this recipe the other day, and it was a winner. The bread, I mean, as is, the way the recipe is written, remember when you did use the low side of the sugar, you know, it just wasn't sweet enough, and I don't know if it would be sweet enough with the, if we would have used the maximum amount of sugar, how much sweeter it would be, but it could be improved upon, I'm sure. You know, this is, Natalie doesn't think it tastes like pumpkin bread at all. It does have pumpkin spices in it, has vanilla extract in it, and all that good stuff, but I guess there's just not enough spices for her and for me. And Natalie, it wasn't sweet enough for you either, was it? Or no? I already said that. Yeah, there's no. She doesn't think there's any like pumpkin pie flavor at all, and the sweetness isn't an issue. And sometimes when you make breads, you know, with different recipes, persimmon bread or whatever, sometimes you get something that's like a cake sweetness. Sometimes you get something that's just very mildly sweet, and this is the very mild sweetness with not a lot of flavor. So you could probably put some frosting on it, maybe inject some like a brown sugar bourbon glaze like inside of there, and frost the top. You know, do something creative and make it a little bit better. And obviously if there's not enough pumpkin pie spice flavor in there, put more pumpkin pie spice, you know, flavor in it.